the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.
Hello, everybody. This is LightCast, your show about lighting, lighting design, and its influence on our daily lives. I'm your producer and co-founder of AV Nation, George Tucker, filling in for JP for the moment. Tonight we have a really special show with a great guest. Hosting today is Megan Mazzocco from Architectural SSL, and I'll hand it off to her for the show at this point. Megan, good evening to you.
Hi, George. Good evening. Thank you. And Renée, Joosten, thank you for joining us this evening. Renée is the lighting design director at CRAVE, and as part of an integrated studio, she leads lighting conceptualization, construction administration, and implementation while collaborating among architects, interior designers, and engineers. She's bridging lighting design and the technicalities with interior concepts and renderings and for projects, and she specifically sources or designs lighting solutions based on architectural parameters and energy code regulations, which I think can be quite a challenge. She also leads her team in making fixture comparisons in full-scale material and lighting mock-ups, and Renée has a specialized master's degree from Parsons, the New School for Design, and her experience, she has led illumination concepts for everything from major retail stores like Tiffany's and Gucci to huge airport terminals such as DCA. So we're really looking forward to talking about your role at CRAVE and kind of starting out with your background and what brought you to this point. So if you could tell us a little bit about first where you began studying interiors and then how you came to find intrigue in lighting design.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for having me to your show. It's very exciting. I always love to talk about lighting. So my background, I was born in the Netherlands, and I grew up in Rotterdam, and you mentioned a little bit travel before. After high school, I was lucky enough to travel to Spain, live in Madrid, and after that I decided to apply to the interior design program of the Royal Academy in The Hague. And they at the time had an interior design program that was already quite interdisciplinary. So they had, it wasn't just interior design, it was furniture design, product design. And that really attracted me to not just study interior designs, but actually a much wider range of skill and perception and interaction as a person. And early on, I was missing a little bit, as you talk about perception of a space, and where's the light factor? Because at the time, lighting at design schools in the Netherlands wasn't really part of the program. This is a while back. So I missed that because I felt in order to be a really good interior designer, you need to understand light. And it was when I was studying, also when I was working as an interior designer. I remember, doing an RCP, and literally I just, this looks good on paper, so hopefully it will actually work. And that lack of knowledge on such an important design tool really drove me to look for other studies to actually learn more about light and the interaction of light with space and with people. And at the time there were basically 3 studies globally. There was one in Germany that just started at the time. one in Sweden, but they taught in Swedish, so that really didn't work for me. And then, of course, there was Parsons, and that was just, for me, a great eye-opener to learn about a program as old as Parsons, the first lighting design program in the world, and to just find a program that for a whole year at the time the master's program lasted, to just spend that whole year studying light. It was just the thought of it was blew my mind away. So I did go to Parsons while I was actually still studying in the Netherlands to just get a feel for the program, what it actually entailed. And just kind of love at first sight, to be honest. I saw what students were working on, their assignments, their solutions to the assignments, and it was just fantastic. So that just sealed the deal. So I basically a week after I finished my studies in The Hague, I was already in New York to study lighting design at Parsons. And it was a great experience just to be, only busy with lighting. It's quite unique. Then during my studies, I did an internship at CBB here in New York, which was, for me, an amazing experience. Coming from the Netherlands, where, especially at that point in time, you didn't have independent lighting design firms.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So if you were, typically it would be the case that if you wanted a lighting design, either the architect or the interior designer would do it, or the actual manufacturer. So you would go either to Philips if you had a big enough project, and they would, kind of as part of the service, and you buying their fixtures, would design their lighting.
Escort you through the lighting design. Mm-hmm.
But to actually, come to a city where you have such a strong lighting design community and so many lighting design firms that can not just survive but actually thrive by just providing architectural lighting service, was just truly mind-blowing. And that's I really loved working in the design world, in the architectural lighting design world. After graduation of Parsons, I worked for Culimanado, also architectural lighting design firm in New York, so I was kind of really getting deeper and deeper, kind of specialized and in the field of lighting, which was, it's like there's never a moment I feel when you're done learning.
Right,
so
especially with the dawn of SSL and LEDs, which I'm sure you were just immersed in and picking up along the way.
Right, but what a learning curve. I think not just, it's just for the whole industry to come from, being used to halogen, and of course that had their own set of problems, but now LEDs, it's such a different, it's a different world almost, I feel.
Set of tools.
Right.
So it sounds like they are helpful in pushing the envelope in all these different applications and markets that you're involved in now with CRAVE. And am I saying the firm's name? Is that how they say it? CRAVE?
Yes, CRAVE. Yeah.
So maybe you could tell me a little bit about the firm, what that name means. And their tagline, Ideas for the Brave. So did you have to prove your bravery before you were able to work for?
Every day. Well, we're an innovative design firm, and you can feel that. Even if you walk through our office, the way our office is designed with open offices, and you can close them off and open them off. It's really it's a creative setup. where it's easy for you to just, hey, I have this idea, let's sit down and let's find a solution. Exactly. So for me, CRAVE, what's really great about it is that we're really the innovative part. We take it very seriously. So it's never cookie cutter. Right. So that makes it extremely exciting as a lighting designer to be part of that team, because your solutions can also never be cookie cutter. We have a lot of very unique structures that we build. I don't know if you're familiar with SDK in Midtown or some of our Toronto airport projects that we did. That are almost like sculptures that we're making, and it's your typical downlight doesn't work as a solution, so that is great as an office. Then in addition to be after working at Cudi Minato, I was missing my interior design roots, because sometimes what happens as a independent lighting consultant, you get on board in the process after concept, and you tend to be sometimes more of an executor instead of an actual designer, and I was missing it. CRAVE and we found each other. They were at a point where they needed someone a full-time lighting designer that could build up a lighting department. And for me, I was looking for something much closer to the actual design process, the conceptual phase, to actually truly be a cohesive part of the design. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a little bit of the history.
So I was noticing that you are one of many designers in this firm. So you are the leader of the lighting, the architectural lighting. Do you have a team now, or
yes.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
And so everyone that you work with, are they interior designers, interior architects? And then tell me a little bit about the process and the collaboration, because it sounds to me that in order to be truly innovative, you guys have maybe a specific design process and that you follow as a team when you're collaborating.
Correct. So our office consists of actually a very eclectic group. So we have interior designers, we have architects, CRAVE itself consists of several departments. So we have the interior design, we have obviously the lighting, but we also have branding. Mm-hmm. We have also a rendering department. And that's very interesting, especially for us. We work a lot with the interior design, obviously, but also with the rendering department. And the rendering department is really for us a great tool to test our designs. So typically how we start a project is to really ask ourselves a lot of questions, ourselves and obviously the client. So we really can understand what the problem is that the client wants to resolve. Mm-hmm. And that might not always be that the client knows that himself or herself. Right. Sometimes it takes conversations. It takes, with brainstorm sessions. We do all sorts of, different strategies and boards to also communicate it back to the client and really get to a different level of design. We really spend a lot of time at that first phase to make sure that you have a reference point, throughout your design. That you always stay clear, okay, this is what we're actually trying to achieve. Mm-hmm. So then after that we have a conceptual phase. We use mood boards, we use a lot of reference images. It's like I said, it's a very collaborative process. Mm-hmm. Our office also we have open spaces, things get pinned up. It's fast, but it's intense and it's also thorough. And then we start to think much more about, we actually go through schematic design. And actually early on, it depends a bit on the project. We also get the rendering team involved, depending if it's a very complex architectural building. The rendering team and the capacity to build things three-dimensional and put yourself in that space is an extremely helpful tool.
And then do you guys actually build the mock-ups, the full-scale mock-ups on site at the actual site of the job, or off-site somewhere, or does it just depend on the project?
It depends on the project. We do, the beauty of our office is because we have a lot of samples, not only lighting, but obviously also finishes.
I know, I was going to ask you about that. I noticed that you have a resource librarian, and
yes.
I love materials and finishes. So
right.
that would be like a dream.
A candy store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on one hand, I was wondering, okay, there's a lot of materials and finishes hanging around, but then again, what about all of the lighting? And are you able to just actually, put two and two together
yes.
right there at your desk,
yes.
at your office?
Yeah. And that's really what I enjoy the most. Is we're always working together. So it's me grabbing a fixture, the interior designer grabbing a finish, and together we determine if it works. And maybe, maybe the lighting is actually fine, maybe the material needs to be changed. And that kind of conversation that we can have is where I feel the boundaries between the two disciplines start to blur, and where it becomes interesting, because I should be able to understand finishes. How can I not understand finishes as a lighting designer? But it works both ways. They also should know about lighting. And that cross-pollination is key in our office. We have every Friday we have town hall, where obviously all our office is having breakfast together, and that's also our platform, for example, for us as a lighting department to actually say, hey, our presentation today is about lighting, and look at this is color temperature, this is dimming to 10%, dimming to 1%. So we really are learning from each other.
Oh, absolutely. I can imagine. Now, tell me a little bit more about defining the architectural parameters of a project, and then what are some tools that help you work with those parameters, within those parameters, and also the energy code regulations as well.
Right. Well, the part of it is obviously that we all need to understand how to read drawings and sections. But again, the 3D model really helps us with that.
And that's
and
what
really, yes, and rendering really helps us with. And it becomes, it's even if it's white model, right? It's all about the proportions and things like if I'm hanging my ceiling grid, which height does that need to be? It's such a different experience to actually, see it in 3D. And now we're doing a lot of things up further with the 60 that you put on your through the space. So it's even a bigger tool now, the whole 3D rendering.
And does some of this specific 3D modeling and the way that the light will behave in the space, has this spurred any custom fixture designs or collaborations with local manufacturers
yes.
for your clients?
Absolutely. We actually do, which was interesting for me because that was quite different from my previous work experience. Because typically the FF&E, the decorative fixtures, fall more under the interior design scope. So as a lighting designer, you might comment obviously on the lighting quality, the wattage, etc. But because our integration is so unique, we actually are now much more part of decorative lighting. And we actually, I would say, in each project we have at least 1 or 2 decorative fixtures. I'm sorry, not decorative fixtures, but actually custom fixtures.
Okay.
And we actually now just recently came out with our own light line of pendants in collaboration with Cerno.
Okay.
So that's an example of what came out of a very natural process of designing a custom fixture for a project, and then turning it around and actually being able to put it on the market. So it's not just a one project fixture.
I actually ran across that on the company profile, and they're lovely pendants and beautifully designed. And is that a metallic shade? Because I just have it printed in black and white.
Oh,
so.
that's an option too. Yes, it's a wood frame.
Okay.
And then our original fixture for the project was walnut wood frame with distressed brass shade.
Ooh.
And we developed it, so it's the reason why we picked this fixture out of the many other custom fixtures we have designed was that this fixture really allows a lot of flexibility. You can imagine if you change that to a white shade with a maple wood frame, it would be a completely different application.
What was the project? Was it a hospitality project that was?
Yes, that was for Ocean Prime restaurant.
Ah, got it. And that was actually leading perfectly into my next question, which is how are you guys finding as a firm that lighting is affecting or being activated or becoming more of a priority in these different markets, in travel, in food experiences, in hospitality situations? So maybe you can tell me a little bit more about maybe some of your clients and how they're embracing that opportunity, and then maybe a recent project that kind of shows how a more conventional market has embraced an unconventional or an innovative or a brave idea.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because even in there's I think it's a big difference already between where we were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and 7 years ago. We do a lot of hospitality, restaurants, bars. There's initially a lot of times a lot of resistance to using new technology. They love the halogen. It dims beautifully. It dims warm. No problem. Now you're introducing LEDs. Like every client I speak with has at least had one bad experience with LEDs, whether they were too cold, whether they were flickering, always something. So it's very hard. And you mentioned before the energy code that at some point it cannot work halogen. So LED it is, and it's difficult. For one thing, the price initially was an issue. Now the price is much less of an issue. But we do a lot of show and tell. You have to show it to them. And the other thing that we see a lot is that we specify a certain LED, always thinking about high CRI, color consistency, dimmability, the whole range of parameters. And of course, then you go through, there's a price tag to it. And then the VE process comes and the client thinks, oh, but I saw the same fixture for half the price. Let's do that. And really the only way to have a conversation about that is with the fixture in your hand. This is what I specified and this is what you would like to substitute it with. And then it's, and then they do realize that, how would they know, right? I understand their point of view too. So that has been like an ongoing, I would say, conversation to have with clients. It's even a conversation when you talk about the dimming, and even just a basic thing that your typical LED doesn't dim to warm. So that's just something that people don't realize. And it's a lot of, I think in general, it's a lot more conversation that you need to have.
Yeah. And I did notice there was a project for Memorial Sloan Kettering.
Yes.
Were you involved in that project? Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the impetus for the lighting design angle.
Yes. We were for these projects. We did the whole interior design for all the phases. Lighting, we only did conceptual, and for the public spaces. So not so much the examination rooms, etc. But it was great for us because, first of all, that has been one of my pet peeves to actually, I love retail and making sure all the products look good, but lighting, for people that are in need of comfort is a different level. So for me, it's a special. That's always a special project. So we really try to bring in our expertise about, what is a hospitality moment. They also have their own standards about color temperature. About color temperature that's might not be exactly as warm as you would like it, but you find your way to still make it an inviting environment. And that's also part of the finishes, which again is finishes and skill are all part of things that we talk about with the interiors and architects as we move along in a project.
Absolutely. I did notice that the company said they choreograph memorable experiences. So sometimes it makes me think of more of a dramatic spectacle that's happening. There's action and there's a script and it's a theater or a stage. So is there a lot of I guess of this idea of the dramatic, theatrical lighting crossing over into the built environment, and the people are the players.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Because our iCrave started with, like I said, with restaurants, but with clubs and lounges. So the theatrical experience of seeing and being seen, kind of the stage, are people on a stage, or what is the role within the space is key. And lighting is such an important tool to help tell that story. That's definitely in the DNA of iCrave to think like that. And even though it's it might be in a completely different project like MSK, still it's the same questions that you ask yourself.
Right.
It might be different answers. I would but it's still the same process of, how do you experience the space? What is it that you want to see or not see? What kind of, what is your comfort level also?
I did notice some recent projects. The Dining by Design for DIFA. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that event?
Yes. Yeah, that's great. That's really exciting. We're doing, we're collaborating with Design Within Reach, and it's next week, so it's soon. And we're actually donating from our fixture line, the Ignis fixture. So that's great to be able to do that, because before we didn't have a product to donate. So it's fantastic. It's we're working as a small team within our office. And to create again this experience and actually talk about stage. That is kind of our again a sort of theme that runs through our design. So it's I really like that kind of diversity. Like I said, it's never cookie cutter, right? It's not like your typical rollout store.
Right.
So that's next week. So that's going to be fun.
That's exciting. Now you were telling us a little bit about the physical office where you guys work, and I did read something about there's sinks that are used as bookshelves, and
Right.
that the office can transform maybe to accommodate skating and archery. So do you do either one of those?
Yeah, skating, we did that as one of our holiday parties when we just got the space, but it wasn't, we hadn't, we hadn't taken sorry, any ownership in that sense. It was just a blank space. And yes, rollerblading it was. Roller skating, I should say. And yes, the art still hangs, but it's a little bit tricky because it's in the same hallway where the elevators come out. So it's only after 8 p.m. That's
Right.
a good idea.
Right. Is there anything else exciting that you're working on that is just about to finish up, or any recent projects that you've just finished up that you wanted to tell us about? I was looking at some of the different posts about Nord Out and the Los Angeles restaurants.
Yes, that's Ocean Prime.
That's Ocean Prime, okay. And then the Le District.
The district. Yeah, the district. The district was very interesting. I always love to do a project in New York because that's still, as you know, coming from the Netherlands to contribute to a city like New York is fantastic. It's an honor. So that was a really fun project for CRAVE because we were part of really the initial question with the client, like what are we actually going to do with this space? Who's going to use it? What will make this a success? Through architectural design, interior design, lighting design, but also branding. So everything is really, we had, we were part of it. We thought about it. And that makes it really special. Like even, if you go to the district has 5, just to quickly summarize it has 5 different districts. And the idea is that it's based on the concept of this New York cityscape, but with the French cuisine, the French flair going through it.
I see. It's like the French version of Italy.
Yeah. Well, it's but it's French, and it's a little bit more because how it's set up, it has a little bit more variety. And it's it was a great experience because it's so it has a cafe district, it has an actual retail grocery store aspect, but then it also has a restaurant, a bar, and then the market district. And some areas have a lot of sunlight, some areas have no sunlight whatsoever, low ceilings. It was a combination of many different things that you still wanted to feel. Also, programmatically, some places close earlier than others. You don't want to feel, everything should still feel alive,
right,
energetic. So it was very interesting for us to give each district their own character, while still being able to feel as, this is still one cohesive overall district. So that was fun. We finished that
February 18th, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Not that long ago.
Yeah. So if I can make it when I'm in New York at the end of the month for Leducation,
yes,
I would love to take a gander.
Yeah, I'll give you a tour
at Le District. And with that, I would like to just say merci and bonsoir because we are out of time. But thank you so much for telling us more about yourself and your role at CRAVE and about the firm. It sounds like a really exciting place.
Yes, stop by when you're here.
All right, I will. We'll do that. Yeah. Well, thank you again, and George, thank you so much for popping in tonight, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.